Determined to get to the root of the perennial problem of the power sector that appears to have been jinxed for almost half a century.
So much importance to this program.
The Department of Economics of the University of Lagos rose to its 5th annual public lecture with the theme, The Power Sector Reforms in Nigeria, Challenges and the Way Forward. Perhaps to activate the minds of the audience on the issue at stake, the Pro-Chancellor of the University of Lagos also takes an overview of the fundamental challenge confronting the nation.
Government. It is only through very serious cerebral application to very little resources that we can have enough money to transform the educational sector.
Now time to hear from the man in the eye of the storm on the hydra-headed problem and the nagging afflictions of the power sector. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing explains that the challenge of the sector stems from several decades of broken promises by successive administrations.
But there was a lot of work to be done. Metering is now haunting us. Audit of customers. How many people are you going to supply as a distributor of a product? If you don't know your customer base, you are going to run into trouble. And later this year, we will start the construction of the Mambila hydropower plant for 3,050 megawatts.
Reviewing the minister's speech, the guest speaker advocates harnessing the resources needed for power supply in the country, while calling on all stakeholders in the power supply chain to be accountable.
In some countries, energy use are election use. And so during the election time, you can then talk with your vote as to whether the government, whether the state or federal or local, are accountable.
Out of the talking points, the big question on the minds of the audience is, when will Nigerians ever get to enjoy uninterrupted power supply? No doubt this would be a major scorecard for the current administration.
Welcome back to Sunrise. That question will always be, I don't know if it will be an eternal question, we hope not. But we've got Mr. George Tomi, who joins us this morning. He's the director in Eco Disco, but he's still a lawyer. He hasn't left the profession. Thank you for coming on this morning.
You're right, I haven't left the profession.
And speaking about power, oh dear, there's always a lot to talk about. Sure. But if we could take it from where the minister spoke about the privatization was deceptively delivered. But we heard him say previously how they need to respect the sanctity of that contract. You don't want investors going to tell other investors outside the country that, look, that country don't respect laws. But if he now says it was deceptively delivered, does that suggest perhaps by innuendo that, wait a minute, something is wrong and needs to be addressed?
Well, clearly the privatization was not executed in a perfect fashion. But this is not to say the idea wasn't a good one.
What was the flaw?
One of the major flaws is that if you look at the assets that were being privatized, many of the people who responded to the RFPs couldn't gain access. Apart from what they saw in the data room, they couldn't gain access to the assets to really evaluate what they were buying. And that was largely because of the labor issues at the time. And the government, in any case, needed the money from the privatization to pay off labor. So at the time, the owners of the assets now went and took over these assets. There was clearly a mismatch between what they saw in the data room with what they saw on ground. And like the minister said, there are so many things we don't know. We had information, say for example in Eco Disco, that our customer base is 460,000. Well, the metering gap nationally was put at like 6 million. You know, these were all the things based upon which you put in your bids. But clearly, there must be more than 6 million households in Nigeria. And Lagos, that has the largest concentration of consumers must clearly also have much more than the numbers that are given. So from day one, you are out of sync with your plan to meter everybody, which is why it always looks like a moving target. Second flaw, not with the process, but this time with the outcome, was that one of the major bases for the privatization and one of the major obligations of the government was to allow tariffs to be set properly, which many call cost-reflective tariffs. But that has not been done